Hey guys, it's your man Bobby Hesley coming to you live from Thailand. I wanted to do a follow-up video to the last one I did on reparations. And I want you to know just how frustrating that is. And that leads to a bigger topic. And this is one of the reasons why I'm looking forward to rolling out my new show that's coming up in a couple weeks called The Bobby Hesley Show. Stay tuned for that. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can get updates on that. I'm going to be producing a lot of content that you're not going to hear anywhere else. It's going to go very in depth. You're going to get a lot of free education that colleges would charge you 6 figures for. Trust me. I'm going to give it to you all for free because I love spreading knowledge and passing on the truth. But I'm really upset with what's happening to my country right now. I'm going to be back in a few weeks, and I'm coming back to a radically different country than it was 8 months ago when I left for Thailand. And the thing that's upsetting me the most is that, yeah, we got all these monuments that are being destroyed. We got all these changes that are being made, getting rid of, Aunt Jemima, getting rid of Uncle Ben, getting rid of Eskimo ice cream, changing the name of the Washington Redskins, which, by the way, is a source of pride to them. Did you know that the author, the designer of the Washington Redskins logo was Native American? You probably didn't know that, did you? They're not too happy about that, but all the woke warriors are. But this notion of reparations and affirmative action and welfare and all these other social policies that have been forced down the throat of the black community since the 1960s, that's, in my opinion, the biggest source of systemic racism in the United States. That along with the high abortion rate of Planned Parenthood. But when you add up how Planned Parenthood targets black babies, they strategically put their abortion clinics in black communities, and they've killed more blacks than anything else, any cops, any cause, anything else combined you can think of. But another form of systemic racism are all these freaking laws that are coming out right now. This reparations bill that was just passed in North Carolina. And there's other copycat states that are in the process of making similar reparations legislation. And you know what I call that, folks? Actually, I didn't coin this phrase. This phrase was coined by your old friend, George W. Bush, back in the year 2000. It's called the soft bigotry of low expectations. That's what it is. Black people are looked upon as this crippled, victimized, disabled part of the population that needs to get all these degrading handouts because we can't fend for ourselves. We're like these little children that need the state to be our God, our baby daddy, our husband, and our nanny, and our sugar daddy, and our Santa Claus all rolled into one with all these stupid degrading legislations that are coming out right now that are supposedly designed to help black people, but it's only going to hurt black people. So these reparations that were issued out in North Carolina, is that going to increase the black literacy rate? Is that going to reduce the black abortion rate? Is that going to reduce the black on blacks violence rate? Is that going to put black fathers back in the home and reestablish the black nuclear family? Is that going to help us? Or is that just going to make a bunch of woke warriors feel good about themselves because they're forcing taxpayers to issue hypocritical payments to black people for things that they've never even been through? And it's like I said in my last video, if we're going to be issuing reparations to black people, then black people need to start issuing reparations. If you're a black person, and you're free to weigh in on the comments. I love dialogue. Let's get a conversation started. If you're black and you support reparations, you can't have it both ways. You got to stay intellectually honest and consistent, and you have to be willing to also pay out reparations. Because black people have a history of owning slaves. We have owned slaves. Look up Anthony Johnson. Okay? One of the first owners of slaves in the United States were black. And he owned 4 white slaves and 1 black slave. So we owe money to whites. We owe money to Jews. I covered that in my last video. But the bigotry of low expectations is degrading on both sides. It's degrading for both the people who practice it. So for example, let's take your white liberal who claims to be the friend of the black man, the friend of the Negro they used to like to call themselves back in the days of Lyndon B. Johnson. That's how they used to refer to themselves, the friend of the Negro. Even Malcolm X had some choice commentary about this.
The white liberal differs from the white conservative only in one way. The liberal is more deceitful, more hypocritical than the conservative. Both want power, but the white liberal is the one who has perfected the art of posing as the Negro's friend and benefactor. And by winning the friendship and support of the Negro, the white liberal is able to use the Negro as a pawn or a weapon in this political football game that is constantly raging between the white liberals and the white conservatives. The American Negro is nothing but a political football, and the white liberals control this ball through tricks or tokenism, false promises of integration and civil rights. In this game of deceiving and using the American Negro, the white liberals have complete cooperation of the Negro civil rights leader, who sell our people out for a few crumbs of token recognition, token gains, token progress.
But the fact is, you friends of the Negroes, you friends of blacks, as you like to call yourselves, you're being extremely racist towards us when you feel like we need all these degrading reparations and all these degrading entitlements. You know why? Because you're saying that we're not good enough, we're not competent enough, we're not intelligent enough, we're not competitive enough, we're not ambitious enough to get our piece of the American dream like everybody else, like every other minority group that's come to this country has gotten for themselves. You got the Chaldeans that are killing it, man. $11 billion a year they contribute towards the Michigan economy. You got the Asians that are cleaning up. You got Haitians, Caribbeans, West Indians, even Mexicans that come here legally and do it the right way like everybody else is supposed to. They come here and in 1 or 2 generations, they become wealthy. We haven't been slaves since 1865. We've had plenty of time to catch up and get our fair share of the American dream. And yet we're not. Why? Because there's still a lot of white on black racism going on. It just takes a different form. If you think that us black people are too stupid and too crippled and too unable to build the kind of life for ourselves that we want to build with our own hard, honest, dedicated work, then you, my friend, are a racist. And I know you stay up late at night and hope that nobody calls you racist. I know that's probably the worst fear that you ever have. The worst thing that could ever happen to you is somebody call you a racist. But if you're one of these white liberals that supports these reparations, you're a racist. You are. Because you have a condescending view of black people. I'm insulted by that. Don't have a condescending view of me like that. I don't need government help. If anything, I wish the government would get the hell out of my way and lower taxes and get rid of some of these stupid regulations that actually make it harder to do business. That's how you can help me. Ask Big Daddy government to just get out of our way so we can be these free entrepreneurs that this country was built on. But it's also degrading to black people. It's degrading to black people when we accept those handouts, when we accept these reparations that they're trying to pass, when we accept these entitlements. It's degrading to us. And I know this from experience, guys. This ain't textbook. I'm not saying anything I haven't lived through myself. I am qualified to speak on this. You can't argue with my blackness. You can't argue with my childhood. I grew up in Brightmoor, Detroit on food stamps, on WIC, on SSI, Section 8, free lunches at school, all that welfare. I grew up on all that, guys. All my childhood, I was on all that stuff. for years. I've been on both extremes. I've been on both ends of the spectrum. I grew up on welfare, on socialist welfare that kept my family down. When I look back on my childhood, we would have been much better off had we not been on welfare. You know why? Because my mom could only make barely enough money to keep our welfare benefits coming in. If she made anything above and beyond that, the welfare was cut off. So I love my mom, but it took away her incentive to work harder. And I hate to even talk about it like that, but I'm a young black male without a father. I grew up without a father, and largely in part of it was due to the man in the house rule. Okay, if a man is in the house, it reduces the woman's welfare benefits. Because why should the state support the family if a man in the house could? And the man in the house should. That's the way it's set up. Listen, if you're gonna have fun with a woman, your little 5 or 10 minutes or however long it takes you to get your jollies, you're signing up for a lifetime of responsibility if a pregnancy results from that. So men should be taking care of their kids. But if they're not there to take care of them, Big Daddy government's gonna step in. He's gonna become the baby daddy. So if he's gonna be the baby daddy and pay for all the food with the food stamps, if he's gonna pay for the housing with the Section 8, if he's gonna pay for all the baby stuff with WIC, and if he's gonna give SSI and do all these other welfare benefits, then guess what? He also gets to set the rules. If Big Daddy government is gonna be the one taking care of the kids, then he's the one who controls what they learn in school. He's the one who's gonna indoctrinate them about how awesome the Democrat Party has been to black people and how wicked the Republican Party has been, when in actuality it's the reverse. I just gave you some real black history about the first to own slaves were blacks, and the slave they owned were whites and blacks. So it's degrading to us black people to be held down by this welfare, because what it does is it puts a ceiling on our ambition. It puts a limit. It shackles our free ambition to just be these unleashed warriors to build a life for ourselves. Because if your income exceeds a certain level, you lose your welfare. So it keeps you on that welfare plantation. And I grew up on the welfare plantation. I've since gone on to become a very successful entrepreneur as an adult, and I love the benefits of capitalism. But that's because my life is my own responsibility. It's not the responsibility of the government. And when I say the government, what I really mean are my fellow taxpayers, because where the hell else does the government get all this money to hand out all these Santa Claus goodies except from other taxpayers? So my other taxpayers, my fellow taxpayers, are not responsible for the success of my life. I am. So this soft bigotry of low expectations that you white liberals keep putting on us black people, I want you to know that that is a form of systemic racism that I'm gonna be going at hard in my coming videos and on the show that I produce, The Bobby Hesley Show. I'm coming for you, so get ready. I'm gonna hit you with facts that you can't argue with. And I look forward to seeing a lot of you white liberals try to argue down my blackness and say that I'm unqualified to talk about these things. I grew up on welfare. So I know firsthand how degrading it is and how much it holds you back. So sound off on the comments below, guys. Like and share this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can get updates on further content that I'll be putting out. I'm going to be putting out a lot of it, so get ready. I will see you on the next video. Take care.